Just imagine a situation where one court case, one detention, and one political movement could quietly reshape the future of elections in the Southeast ahead of 2027. That is the warning now coming from the legal team of IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu. And the message is already creating intense conversations across Nigeria's political space. According to statements making rounds in recent days, KANU'S counsel suggested that the way political leaders handle his continued imprisonment could determine which politicians gain support in the region and which ones may completely lose public trust before the next general election. For many Nigerians, this is no longer just about one individual. It has become a wider debate about justice, political loyalty, regional influence, and the future of Nigeria's democracy. And as politicians quietly begin preparations for 2027, tensions around the Southeast political atmosphere appear to be growing stronger. Before we go deeper, if you enjoy detailed political updates like this, take a second to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with others following Nigeria's political developments. And most importantly, drop your thoughts in the comments because this conversation is becoming one of the biggest political debates ahead of 2027. Now, to understand why this latest warning is getting attention, it is important to go back a little. Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, also known as IPOB, has remained one of the most controversial political figures in Nigeria over the last several years. His detention and ongoing legal battles have continued to divide opinions across the country. While the Nigerian government has repeatedly maintained its position based on national security concerns and ongoing court proceedings, many supporters in the Southeast believe his case represents something much bigger than just a legal matter. Over time, Kanu's continued imprisonment has become deeply emotional for many people in parts of the Southeast. Political leaders from the region have faced growing pressure from residents, traditional voices, youth groups, and even some religious leaders who believe stronger efforts should be made toward finding a political or legal solution to the situation. But the challenge is that politicians in the region appear divided on how to approach the issue. Some leaders have openly called for Kanu's release through legal and political means, while others have remained cautious, likely trying to avoid direct confrontation with the federal government or security agencies. That careful balancing act is now becoming more difficult as 2027 slowly approaches. According to recent remarks linked to IPOB's legal representatives, politicians hoping to secure support in the Southeast may soon face serious questions from voters regarding where they truly stand on Kanu's detention. The statement reportedly warned that silence or perceived betrayal on the issue could have major political consequences in the coming elections. Now, whether one agrees with that position or not, the reality is that political sentiment in parts of the Southeast has changed significantly over the years. Many young people in the region increasingly expect political leaders to take stronger positions on matters affecting regional identity, security, economic hardship, and representation at the federal level. And this is where things become politically sensitive. Some analysts believe the Kanu issue could evolve into a powerful campaign topic ahead of 2027, especially if his legal situation remains unresolved. Others argue that many voters may focus more on economic survival, insecurity, fuel prices, inflation, and unemployment, rather than one particular political figure. But even those analysts admit that emotions surrounding the case remain strong in many communities. Reports and local political discussions also suggest that several politicians from the Southeast are already trying to avoid being publicly seen as disconnected from public sentiment regarding Kanu's case. That may explain why more political figures have recently started making careful statements calling for dialogue, fairness, or peaceful resolution. Still, the political risks remain high. For some politicians, Openly supporting Kanu's release could create tension with powerful interests outside the region. For others, staying silent may create distrust among voters back home. That leaves many leaders walking a very delicate political line. And remember, Nigerian politics often changes very quickly. A single issue can suddenly dominate campaigns, shape alliances, and influence voting patterns in unexpected ways. What makes this situation even more interesting is that the Southeast remains politically important, despite ongoing challenges in voter turnout and regional tensions. Any shift in political unity or public sentiment there could influence wider coalition building ahead of 2027. Major political parties understand this very well. Some observers even believe the region may become one of the most unpredictable political battlegrounds in the next election cycle. Why? Because many voters appear increasingly frustrated, not only with national issues, but also with local political leadership. In recent years, residents across parts of the Southeast have repeatedly raised concerns about insecurity, economic pressure, underdevelopment, and federal appointments. Against that background, Kanu's detention has, for some people, become symbolic of broader frustrations within the region. That symbolism is exactly why statements from IPOB's legal team continue attracting attention whenever they are made. Now, it is important to state clearly that political opinions across the Southeast are not the same. Not everyone supports IPOB, and not everyone agrees with Kanu's methods or rhetoric over the years. There are many people who strongly prefer peaceful political engagement within Nigeria's democratic system. Others believe regional leaders should focus more on economic development and governance instead of emotionally charged political battles. But despite these differences, one thing appears clear. Kanu's case still carries major emotional and political weight, and politicians know it. That may explain why some leaders have recently increased calls for dialogue and reconciliation rather than confrontation. There have also been repeated appeals from groups and individuals urging the federal government to consider political solutions alongside legal processes. At the same time, the federal government has consistently maintained that legal institutions must be respected and that court processes should take their course. Government officials have also repeatedly emphasized concerns about national unity and security. So, what happens next? That is the question many Nigerians are asking. If Kanu's legal case sees major developments before 2027, it could significantly change political calculations across the Southeast. If there is no resolution, the issue may continue hanging over regional politics throughout the election season. And for politicians hoping to secure support, every public statement or silence may increasingly come under scrutiny. Interestingly, some political watchers believe younger voters could play a major role here. Across Nigeria, younger citizens are becoming more vocal online and more active in political conversations. In the Southeast especially, social media discussions around Kanu's detention remain highly active. That online energy can influence real-world political perception very quickly. A politician seen as insensitive to regional concerns could face backlash online that later translates into lower support during elections. On the other hand, leaders who appear too aggressive or controversial may also risk alienating moderate voters. So, once again, many politicians are trying to carefully balance their words and actions. And this balancing act may only become harder as campaigns draw closer. Another factor making this issue important is the wider conversation around trust in political leadership. Many Nigerians across different regions have grown skeptical of politicians making promises during election periods and disappearing afterward. Because of that frustration, emotionally charged issues often become tests of sincerity and loyalty. For some people in the Southeast, Kanu's situation has now become one of those tests. Can politicians genuinely defend regional interests? Can they negotiate effectively with the federal government? Can they speak boldly without creating instability? Those are some of the questions voters may ask in the coming years. Of course, politics is never completely predictable. New national issues could emerge before 2027 that completely change voter priorities. Economic conditions, security challenges, party defections, court rulings, and coalition politics could all reshape the landscape. But for now, one thing is certain. The warning coming from IPOB's counsel has added fresh intensity to conversations already happening quietly behind the scenes. And powerful politicians are paying attention. Some may publicly dismiss the comments, others may privately worry about them. But few serious political actors in the Southeast can completely ignore the emotional influence this issue still carries among parts of the population. As Nigerians continue following the situation, many people are hoping for peaceful dialogue, responsible leadership, and solutions that reduce tension instead of increasing division. The coming months may reveal whether political leaders choose confrontation, compromise, silence, or negotiation. And honestly, the decisions made before 2027 could shape political relationships in the Southeast for many years beyond the election itself. If you followed this story up to this point, let us know your opinion in the comments. Do you think Kanu's imprisonment will truly influence the political future of the Southeast ahead of 2027? Or do you believe voters will focus more on economic and security issues instead? Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share this discussion with others interested in Nigeria's political future. Stay informed, stay engaged, and thanks for watching.